Sheep farming in Britain is an integral part of our landscape. Every springtime, the young lambs emerge to forage on the fresh grass, symbolising the end of winter and the promise of new growth. Farmers all over the country are busy at this time. The outcome of these few months in spring will determine the success of the farm for the rest of the year.
Lamb's the only really seasonal red meat because it relies on grass growth, and the grass doesn't grow very well in the winter time, so sheep don't thrive as much and lambs don't grow well into that time, so they have their lambs in the spring and they're sort of all finished and gone away by the late autumn, early winter, and then the sheep are then pregnant again to give birth in the spring.
If the availability of lamb is so closely tied to its breeding cycles, how did it come to be available all year round? This programme sets out to discover how Waitrose has sourced lamb from different places around the world in order to offer a consistently high-quality product all year round. Sheep produce lambs only once a year, and in the UK, this naturally falls around springtime. But small climate differences within the UK mean that the lambing season in some areas starts earlier than others.
We take the early lambs from the west coast in Wales, which is milder, from the Clean Peninsula and from the Anglesey area. And those lambs are available from Easter through May and into June. And then the spring-born lambs, which form the majority of our lambs, which are born in March and into April, will then be marketed throughout the rest of the season.
This means that Welsh lamb starts to arrive from early May, with the main season from June to December. But why do we stop there?
There's always some lamb available in the winter, but the quantity and the quality of it all varies. It starts to become older. As lambs get closer to being 1 year of age, they start to become more mature. They start to become teenagers, and their meat's much more stronger and variable in flavour.
It's at this point in the year, when the weather's turning colder and the nights get longer, that Waitrose turns to the southern hemisphere, where spring is blossoming into summer in New Zealand.
We supply New Zealand lamb to Waitrose from December to the end of April, which is the spring and summer finishing period for lambs in New Zealand. The rams are introduced to the ewes here in the Southern Hemisphere on the 25th of April, and that gives us a starting lambing date on the 20th of September.
Here, the warm, temperate climate, similar to our own, provides good grass growth, and New Zealand's wide vistas and unpopulated grasslands have given rise to a world-renowned sheep farming industry, with sheep outnumbering people by around 10 to 1.
Farm is 2,000 acres or 800 hectares, and we have 4,500 ewes.
Compare that to our British farms, where an average flock would be around 500 to 600. With New Zealand lamb at its best and available in volume during our winter, back in the UK, it's all quiet down on the farms. Or is it? Not everyone's tucked up around a warm fire. Down in the West Country at Jim Dufficy's farm, there's a traditional breed of sheep that have a different gestation period, enabling them to produce lambs out of season during the autumn and winter months.
At Dorset, we can lamb them September, October, November, whenever, and that then supplies fresh new season lamb earlier in the year than any other breed. All the other breeds would stick to the lambing in the spring.
So Dorset breed lamb is the first new season lamb to be available for sale in the new year. But as it can't be supplied in high volume like other lamb, it's only offered on the service counter. Waitrose pay a premium to farmers like Jim to produce these lambs for our branches. And as a result, each year Waitrose is the first high street food retailer to offer naturally reared British new season lamb. And so, from the West Country to Wales, England to New Zealand, Waitrose carefully time their buying so that they're offering the best lamb whenever it's seasonally available. But seasonal availability is only one aspect of lamb production. Ensuring consistency of quality relies on many other factors. The environment of the farms, the animal husbandry, and the cooperation of the farmers to maintain a regular supply. Waitrose needs to know that its farmers can continue to produce good lamb year after year. And farmers need commitment from Waitrose so that they can continue to grow and develop their stock to the required standard.
Most of agriculture, you plant your corn, you lamb your sheep, and then when you get to the end, you look for a buyer. And generally, the buyer takes them away and then tells you what you're going to get paid. It's rather like any other job where you might work all week and at the end of the week you go in and see the boss and say, well, how much are you willing to pay me? It's cost me £10 a day to drive here. And he'll tell you he's going to pay you £9 a day. That's how agriculture works. It's a very strange situation, but with Waitrose they come in before even the lambs are born and will tell us a price. It's just a verbal agreement, and we will carry on, lamb our sheep, produce our lambs, send our lambs off, and that's the price we'll get. And no matter what happens with the market outside, they stick to their word.
What we're trying to get from our farmers is a good quality product, and we give them a premium for getting that. We're very concerned that if we're to grow as Waitrose and keep our lamb business growing, they're loyal to us, they're producing the quality meat. It's important for them to be still growing good quality lambs 5 years down the track, for us to be keeping a consistent lamb business.
So how is this managed? Through farmers' groups, which Waitrose has helped to set up in both the UK and New Zealand.
It's important for New Zealand farmers to be in a group if they wish to produce lambs for a market such as Waitrose, because some New Zealand farmers prefer to just go it alone, if you like, and sell for the best price on the day. But I prefer to get into a long-term relationship where they give me feedback on my product and also recognise the extra efforts made financially.
Back in the UK, the Welsh group is meeting. They produce lamb exclusively for Waitrose, but they aren't controlled by Waitrose. It's the group members themselves who decide who should join.
Quite interesting that we have recruited by personal recommendations from other farmers. I think we're quite unique in that. So members recommend their neighbours or friends who they believe have the right quality of stock that we require for this scheme. And that is the way the group has grown over the years.
One of the key functions of the group is to agree the volume of lamb that can be supplied to Waitrose.
The year starts with asking the farmers for their best estimate of the number of lambs which they think will be available throughout that year. There's no legally binding contract between us. We operate on a commitment form and we operate on trust. And I think that that's a lovely way of doing business. It might be old-fashioned, but it means a lot to people.
Or if you're drawing out of a different bunch of ewes, first pullers, I'm going to try a few of those and see how they go, isn't it?
We give them a chance to alter that commitment as the season progresses. And we're coordinating all the figures so that we know what those alterations are going to mean in the way of the lamb supply.
In the early years, when it was first started, we were pretty conservative because contracting lambs to supply at a certain time, at a certain weight, was foreign to us, and we had to learn. So we probably committed 25% of our lambs, and it's gone on now. The last few years it's been 3,000, and this year we've contracted 3,500, which is probably 85 to 90% of our male lamb crop.
With all the figures confirmed, the farmers have their year planned out. It's late September down at Tascroft Farm, and Jim has his hands full with lambing. During pregnancy, the sheep are scanned to make sure that all is well with the unborn lambs. This also tells the farmer how many lambs he can expect from his flock. But it doesn't end there. From now on, he must pay close attention to the ewes. As most sheep produce only 1 or 2 offspring a year, it's vital the birthing goes well and that the lambs are bonding to their mothers and feeding properly. This is the busiest time for the farmer. Lambing can happen at any time of the day or night. A visit from the Waitrose buyer provides an opportunity to catch up and monitor progress. It's also a busy time at the Davies farm in Wales. Roach and Anne are about to see all their hard work over the spring and summer months come to an end as the final lambs are assessed, ready for processing. The commitments that the Davies gave earlier in the year now have to be fulfilled, not just in terms of overall numbers, but the quality and quantity of lambs that will meet the Waitrose spec. The knowledge and skill needed to produce a quality flock like this is acquired slowly over time. And it's no coincidence that some of the best producers here have been farming for generations.
I've got to be about the 5th generation farming in this area. Yes, we're the 3rd generation on this unit. We're an old family now, and yes, we do enjoy farming, and hopefully it will continue after my day, which is important, really.
It's at this crucial time that all the care and husbandry applied to the flock during the year reaps its rewards. Good farming practices produce healthy animals that are more likely to meet the Waitrose specification. This specification defines exactly the requirements that the animal must fulfill, right down to weight, conformity of shape, and amount of fat to lean on the meat.
That one's not quite ready, see. The rib there, there's too much rib. That one will maybe a fortnight on that one. This one here is ready. That's a good lamb, that is. And I'm going to guess now, and that'll be, what, say 40 to 44 kilos. I'm not a gambling man, but...
Yes, he's 43 kilos.
So I should have put my money on that lamb.
Here in Wales, every lamb is assessed by hand before being sent for processing. In New Zealand, however, Dave has much larger numbers, so the lambs are weighed automatically. And it's the processing plant that makes the final assessment before the lambs leave the farm. All of Waitrose's New Zealand and UK suppliers adhere to strict codes of conduct governing the welfare of animals, which includes limiting the time that the lambs spend in transit. This extends to the lairage, where they're rested in pens and have access to fresh drinking water. Back in the UK, the benefits of belonging to a farmers group continue throughout the year. For instance, farmers in the Welsh group use their network to coordinate transport requirements, which makes delivery more efficient. Anne is on hand to see her lambs safely delivered. Every batch is logged and registered for traceability. After slaughter, the carcasses are individually checked and graded according to meat conformity.
This is one of Roach and Anne's lambs that we saw being selected. Ewe means it's conformation, so how well muscled that lamb is. A ewe is a very good muscled lamb. In the 3 hours, it's fat cover. We've got to have the right amount of fat to go with the muscle, because fat gives succulence and flavour, but we don't want too much fat, both for health reasons, and basically people don't want to buy fat, they want to buy meat, so it's finding a nice balance.
But how do farmers know whether they've successfully achieved this balance? The Welsh group have pioneered a web-based system of feedback, so the grades from the abattoir can be immediately posted for review. Back at the farmhouse, Anne reviews her results. The system tells her exactly how many of their lambs hit the required Waitrose grade. Waitrose pays a premium to its farmers for each lamb that achieves this standard, and their success rate is often over 80%, compared with an industry average of 55%.
Out of 60 lambs, one didn't hit the spec, which is very pleasing. We said that yesterday. I thought there was one a little bit too fat, which turned out as our judgment was right.
These are good lambs, yeah.
But it's not all numbers and percentages. What does the product really taste like?
Whose lambs have we got here?
We've got lambs from Roach and Ann Davis.
They look a very good eye muscle, and good balance of fat cover and good sized chop. And 5 out of 6.
5 out of 6, I would agree.
Excellent muscling and ideal fat cover.
Yeah, good.
Okay then.
Well, let's eat them.
Waitrose holds regular tasting sessions to grade the meat according to eating quality.
Flavour?
I think the flavour's very good. The nice lammy flavour. Excellent flavour. No off
No
flavours
at all. Nothing in the background.
Yeah, I'd go 4. No, 5.
5.
Very good flavour.
5.
Close to being perfect.
It's not just British lamb that's monitored. 13,000 miles away in New Zealand, the lamb buyer also checks that those same standards are being met. Here, the product is also rigorously assessed. A veterinary officer inspects each carcass before it's stamped and logged for traceability. Conformity is also measured, but unlike the UK where it's done by eye, an electronic probe is used here to measure the fat on the 13th rib. New Zealand lamb, of course, has a long way to come before it reaches Waitrose. Like all Waitrose lamb, New Zealand lamb is matured on the bone to maximise flavour. And the sea journey over to the UK is the ideal time for this to happen. The boat leaves the port in Dunedin and travels via the Panama Canal, arriving in the UK around 28 days later. But just how is this managed so that the meat's safe and good to eat?
This stuff's got a handle being rocked around in a container in the high seas. So if we're rocking up like this, it's got to handle all those maybe abuses. That's why they put this bubble wrap on, stops that abuse again. This is what they call bone guard, which is food grade. You put this over this and it protects, just an insulation against breaking through the bag.
Of course, temperature control is the key to both safety and meat quality. And so it's this that's managed and monitored carefully the entire way. The meat is chilled down to -1 degree, which is the temperature it will hold for the rest of the journey. Lamb doesn't freeze until -2 degrees, so this lamb is always chilled and never frozen. Digital recorders are placed in with the meat at the front, middle and rear of the container during loading. These take continual temperature measurements throughout the 4-week journey, and an automatic alarm is generated if there's any deviation. All Waitrose lamb throughout the year comes here to the dedicated plant in Bury St Edmunds for final preparation and packing. When the New Zealand lamb arrives, the first job is to locate the recorder boxes. The logs are checked to ensure that the temperature range has not deviated from -0.5 degree to -1.5 degrees. If any variations are found, then the whole container is rejected. Swab tests are also carried out to determine the meat's in perfect condition. The data is carefully analysed before the product is released into the Waitrose system. The UK lamb comes in as whole carcasses, and like the New Zealand product, it's cut by hand as opposed to the more common use of band sawing, which is less precise and leaves bone dust on the meat. Regardless of whether it's a standard line or a speciality product like this, the same skill is applied. Even high-volume cuts like chops that would be more easily processed by machine are still cut by hand using traditional butchery techniques, which produce a premium full chop with no bone dust contamination. So by sourcing through the seasons from those regions that specialise in quality lamb production, Waitrose is able to offer the widest range of products available. In fact, there are over 25 different cuts on sale at any one time. And all of these have come from farmers known to Waitrose.
Waitrose is quite unique in that it believes in trying to work very closely with the primary producer. It's of a size that enables it to do so compared with the competition. By sharing knowledge between the producer and the retailer and trying to understand what the customer wants, we can strive for better and better results from the Waitrose point of view, and from the farmer point of view, obviously better and better returns.
This means that suppliers have a sense of loyalty and commitment to the Waitrose standard, both for now and for the future. And they take pride in what they produce.
When I'm looking for something to eat in the way of meat, it's got to be safe and it's got to be tender and it's got to be damn good. And I think that if it's good enough for me to want that, it's fair enough for the Waitrose clients to want it, and so we'll produce it for them.
Sheep farming in Wales has been very important to the rural economy. In fact, there are historical references back to the 14th century. Most of the farms in Wales are family farms where we've seen generations of farmers. Roach Davis has told us today that he's the 5th generation. Welsh lamb has had a very, very good reputation. It's world-renowned for something that is produced naturally. We have 11 million sheep in Wales and a population of only 4 million, so you can see the sheep certainly outnumber us. We were delighted that in July 2003 it was awarded a PGI status by the European Union, which protects Welsh lamb from being abused and used, so anybody who's using the word Welsh lamb on a label has to back that up by the fact that the lamb has been born and reared in Wales. That, we hope, will give the Waitrose customer the reassurance that when they're buying Welsh lamb, they're buying lamb that's been naturally raised in Wales and they know exactly where it's coming from.
Dorset breed lamb has the right eating characteristics and fat-to-meat balance that Waitrose look for when choosing their lamb. Years of careful farming and selection has refined this traditional breed.
Years ago, the Sunday roast flavoured your food for the rest of the week. So it was breeders concentrated. Breeding animals down one line or another is nothing new. It's happened for hundreds of years, and people bred animals in this country to have a cover of fat to supply flavour. Now that doesn't mean that they're very fatty, it just means that there's flavour in the meat, whereas some of the continental breeds of animals wouldn't have that flavour. So the Dorset has that. If you go back over 100 years, there was a Dorset horn and a Somerset horn, and the two breeds amalgamated and became the Dorset horn. And that's where they get their name from, and they originated from the county of Dorset, but they're now worldwide. They cover from Australia to South America to the United States, and they cover most parts of England, Wales. There's a few in Scotland, and there's quite a few in Ireland.
Waitrose Dorset breed lambs are predominantly sourced from the southwest of England, and all come from pedigree Dorset breed mothers or rams. The farmers must be registered to the Dorset Breed Society and have to sign a commitment of authenticity before marketing their lambs to Waitrose. Here at Tascroft Farm, the lambing season is well underway and Jim has his work cut out. One of his jobs is to separate the ewes that have just given birth.
The ones that are going to lamb in the next 1 or 2 days, all the hormones are saying that they've given birth, they're about to give birth, they're getting confused. And as soon as they see a newborn lamb, they lick it, get a taste of it and think they've lambed. And because the real mum's usually in a slight state of shock, she'll step back and let the other ewe take it, and if if you're not careful, you've got 2 or 3 sheep all lamb together and you don't know which lamb belongs to who. And the dominant ewe will take everybody else's lamb away. So as soon as the ewes bonded with her own lamb, 24 hours later, she'll know the smell and the noise of her own lamb. She won't let anybody else suck from her, and the lamb will know its mum. They can tell each other's bleat. They all sound the same to us, but they can tell each other's bleat in a field. If you go into a field of sheep, they'll all make a noise, and all the lambs will go running to the right mums. So it just gives them the time to bond without anybody else interfering. It'll stay in this pen for 1 to 2 days, providing everything's okay. Then it'll go into a pen of about 6 to 8 ewes with their lambs, still in the shed until they're about 3, maybe 4 days old. Then they go out into a yard where there's between 12 and 20 ewes, and then when they're 5, 6, maybe 7 days old, we'll put them in a trailer and take them to the field they're going to go into. So everything, no matter when they're born, will go out to grass by the time they're a week old.